back, Lance. Good to see you.
It's great to be here, Bob.
President of Banco ZK, former SBA Deputy Director of the Little Rock Loan Commercial Center, Katie Witecki, our editor, and Brent Cherlino.
Hello.
Should I read all this? Senior Vice President, Risk and Operations, Director of New Tech Business Corp. Brent was formerly, he was with the FDIC. And what was your position with SBA? Oh, Office of Credit Risk.
Director, yeah.
There you go.
I've been through all the acts, the stimulus, jobs,
He was the Okram guy.
all of them.
The reason why we Brent on is we have 56 questions in the queue about the new interim rule and new pending legislation. And I wanted to bring Brent on to put this into historical context on A, how long do you think this is going to take? And B, how significant will the changes be, Brent?
Well, I think an important thing to understand is if you go back to the time of the financial crisis, which is what people are trying to use as a blueprint, at least on the Hill, for the process you first had in the spring of 2008. You had the Economic Stimulus Act, which also included the Small Business Stimulus Act. It actually got merged together. That was a $700 billion program that got put into place February, March of 2008. It wasn't until the fall of 2008, November, that you then got TARP and the American, and turning the corner into 2009, you got the American Recovery Act, which was another. There was $700 billion with TARP, and then another $800 billion or so for the American Recovery Act. And so they got staged in over a 12-month period. And then you had the Jobs Act of 2010, and then you had, which was the Small Business Jobs Act.
Right.
And then you had the Jobs Act, which was the Jumpstart Our Business Act of 2012. And
Brent,
the 210 is when we got the increase from 2.5 million to 5 million.
Yeah. Have you done it and where we are on how these total numbers compare with whether we're at 2 billion?
Well, I think if we look at it in that 2.8 period, we did, about 800 billion almost. I think when they look back, they say it's between 800 and a trillion two. That was really the impact of the Economic Stimulus Act. And then you had 700 billion for TARP, and then 800 billion in the American, the Recovery Act. So you're still talking a couple $trillion bucks. It's just how you laid it out. But the initial deal between TARP and the Stimulus Act was in that $1 trillion area. I think at the time the numbers were 700 billion and then another 700 billion. But the real cost
huge numbers
at that level.
Katie, do you have, I know you've been following the news. Do you have a sense of where is the Senate going to vote today?
I really kind of doubt we're going to get something today. Probably, I would hope this week, but it's hard to say right now. There's not a good agreement right now.
Yeah. Brent, how long is this going to take for SBA to implement?
Well, I think if they use the bank lenders in the program, they can probably get guidance out within 2 weeks. I know they're trying to build in 30 days, but they got to get interim guidance out. So they can do that most by leveraging through the banks.
Lance,
but I do think it'll take 30 days for certain parts of the detail, but they got to get forms out. They got to get, process. They got to differentiate.
They need the law.
When do you go to the disaster call center website versus when do you go to your bank?
Right. What do you think, Lance?
Well, I do think it's a big task for SBA to get implemented, and I agree with Brent. If they put it in the hands of participant lenders, it will get in the hands of small business owners quicker. Because SBA, let's face it, they don't have the staff necessary to get this money all out. They need the participant lenders, and as a participant lender, and I know all you guys on the call today, we're just waiting for some guidance on how we're going to do this and it'll be okay if we get a set of rules, Bob, that says, okay, here are some of the details, and it'll be live in 2 weeks. It'll be live in 30 days. At least we could get the small business owners working on collecting the necessary information to move forward.
When they're getting killed, the rest of us.
I would say, I do want to give some credit to disaster assistance and such. I have it on good authority that they have ramped up call center, and they're reaching into their contractor base to get folks into both, I think, Buffalo and to Fort Worth, Dallas. So they've been working behind the scenes already.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, and I've heard from small businesses who have done the application online, probably heard from 30 or 40 different business owners that they've been successful in getting their application in. And so, I mean, it seems like it's a step in the right direction. But Bob, as we all know, Bob, Brent, Katie, getting the money to the small business owners is what's critical.
Well, and yeah, especially when we're working at home. I mean, this is
Yeah, it isn't like with FEMA where you have, tents out there and people coming in and being able to do applications and, one-on-one. This is completely digital.
Yeah.
Some great questions. We don't know if we know the answers. I'll ask them anyway. And if we don't have answers, we'll hold them over until we know the answers. Can the stimulus be used for refinance or purchase of a business now that the limit is proposed to be $10 million?
My guess is no.
Really?
I mean, everything I've read about
Okay.
the recovery information related to SBA loans is supposed to be used to cure harm created by the poor economy. And I got to ask that question by a borrower today, Bob, who actually is not in a bad place. They're in an industry that's doing fine right now, and they're up and operating. He's like, can I refinance my existing loan into a stimulus loan? And yeah, I may be wrong, but my gut reaction, Brent,
Obviously,
tell me what you think. I think it's no.
I don't think we know any of these answers, but we will know within the next 2 weeks, hopefully.
Now, Bob, it wouldn't preclude getting some money to help make payments.
Right.
If they're struggling to make payments, it wouldn't preclude getting working capital, but I don't think it's going to be to refinance existing debt.
I'll do this scenario. If I was sitting there again, I would say, here's impact money. If the program still is operating the way it did. So if there's a legit deal for you to go in and use a 7A loan to do something, it's just going to have to exist on its own merits. It won't be able to be slid into an impact type loan.
Cheryl,
well, Bob, a parallel question. I had a small business owner ask me if they could get funds to expand their business. And I'm not saying no, but again, if you read kind of the thought or the theory behind the act, it's to cure harm, not if you're looking to expand, we're going to go through the regular 7A program, like Brent said, and stand on its own merits.
Brent, how quickly will borrowers have access to disaster loan funds? Says
they're already getting access now. I mean, they're processing applications. That to me, that program's open and trying, I'll say trying to run because I haven't gone in, but I've actually gone in and tested the website and application, and folks are getting in there and getting in the queue.
On the disaster side, Bob, I got a story from a small business owner in Texas who said they were very early getting their application in. They indicated it's already been approved and that they have received a date they anticipate receiving funds.
We are obviously having bandwidth issues. We will work on that. We're up to 517 people. Let's go to the poll question if we can ask it. What percentage of your SBA loan borrowers are requesting deferments?
I'll be interested to see this, Bob. Of course, my phone has been lit up for the last week with questions about deferments, and I know what my number is.
All right.
Yeah,
we'll
I've got an
start with you.
idea on ours too.
Yeah, we're running about, or at least in my portfolio, Bob, somewhere close to 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Brent?
25%
30.
or so.
Okay.
And,
That's a
and
good
we're pretty well we got a good technology platform, but we're getting 2,000 calls a day. Plus
Wow.
we're outbounding calls to our, we got almost 3,000 customers.
Hey, Paul asked an interesting question. Can you do a temporary increase for an SB Express line of credit? Increase it for 200,000 to bring it back down to its original amount?
If you use normal servicing standards, you could technically do that. The downfall is they're going to have to pay the additional guarantee fee, at least as far as I know right now, for the increase. And a decrease, it can be done. I would, Paul, crunch the numbers, find out what a realistic increase is, and put that in place, something that they need long term. But, when Paul sent this question, my initial is, yeah, you can do it. But
Sort of sounds like a cap.
let's say you increase the line of credit. What would be the value in decreasing it at a later date? I'm not sure what that would be. So, Paul, the answer, as far as I know, is yes, you can do what you're asking.
And John asked the question, can a lender provide a deferment and extend a new credit disaster relief loan to a borrower simultaneously?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be okay. The deferment is a servicing action. And I know that a lot of banks are going to have to meet regulatory requirements for reporting on deferments, and they're all trying to figure out exactly how they're going to do that. The deferment has always been a tool in your servicing toolbox. You can do those 6-month deferments unilaterally, but I would not. As far as I know, you can do a deferment, and then whatever program comes out that the banks will implement, you should be able to do a disaster loan as well.
I might add, I've been in communication with, OCC and FDIC. They are issuing guidance on troubled debt restructure,
Okay.
but I would say document your file that the business was, the deferment was for a reasonable issue, and have it documented so it's not considered a troubled debt restructure when you then decide to go do your disaster.
Yeah, right.
That's a big holdup on most banks' perspectives, the TDRs. But if you go back and look at the SOP language, it says the deferment is a temporary solution to a temporary problem. And we don't know, but, in my view, this is not long-term. It's not forever. It's a temporary problem.
Well, I just got 10 more questions, which we will hold over. We appreciate the questions. Thank you very much. Let's bring Katie in here. And I was quoted in the U.S. News and World Reports. But Katie, go ahead. Tell us what's going on your reporting.
Oh, so last Friday we got a information notice from the SBA, and it is attached in your handouts right now. So if you want to download that, it's strongly encouraging 504 lenders to offer deferment relief for borrowers that have been affected by the COVID-19 outbreak. And it goes through some of the guidance and rules for those people in those situations. Just some highlights, regular loans in regular service as of March 12th, you may grant a 6-month deferment. If it's not in regular servicing, then you may not. And that date is retroactive to March 1st deadline. So
go back to the previous slide.
Details are in the handout.
And also
Brent, this reminds me of 2010, 2011 when I was at Little Rock. The most common servicing request we received was a deferment request on an SBA 504 loan. And of course, all 504 loans will have to have a catch-up plan implemented. And what I saw in the release about deferments on 504, I think that they're allowing the catch-up plan to be
6
done
months.
shortly thereafter, after the deferment.
Very good.
I think it indicated you have to have your catch-up plan approved and in place prior to the end of the deferment.
And then on, we also got the notice that all disaster loans are automatically deferred.
Hey, the biggest question I'm getting, Bob, and I'm sure some people, I'm getting asked about this potential grant. Brent, what do you know about that?
The only thing I know is that it starts off at a loan, and they're trying to tie it to jobs and job
and if you don't lay
retention.
anybody off, you get,
And then at the back end, they'll determine if it's going to be, a grant, or SBA will directly pay the bank off for the loan.
it's a reverse. It's exactly what we did in 2009 with General Motors, except that this time we're doing it for Main Street. So,
Yeah, and Brent, you helped me because I was wondering if the grant was related to the true disaster loans or the SBA disaster loans, whatever they're going to be called, that are implemented by participant banks.
I keep calling the second 7A loans impact loans, right?
Impact loans. Thank you.
Due to the impact. I don't know if that'll catch or not, but
I'm calling them emergency loans. I don't know.
Yes, those emergency impact loans is where
There
they're
we go.
trying to earmark that.
Very good. Let's see. We have a couple of offerings. We're starting our spring training next week. So if you are stuck at home and you want to take advantage of any one of those offerings, they're 8 to 10 week courses. Lance and I do them. They're very professionally packaged. They're online, and you can do them in 10-minute bites. Lance has a webinar in 30, 45 minutes, which you're all, we could still take your registration. Just send an email to joseph@colemanreport.com.
It's how to do I'm sorry, Bob, it's how to do the new PDK.
Very good. And then we're doing a repeat of our major new SBA rules. We were sort of happy. We may push that a week if I don't have any new information, because we wanted to do that with the new information. Hey, Brent, thank you so much for taking time. I appreciate you joining us. Lance, as always.
Sure.
Katie, thank you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Everyone take care, be safe.